Welcome to the 3-day Quit Kickstart. My name is Mason Odell. I've been helping people quit smoking for the last 11 years, and I want to help more people than those in my local community, and that's why I've compiled this 3-day Quit Kickstart. This comes from all the information that I've gained over the last 11 years, seeing people come and go out of my shop, talking with them at the bar, listening to their hopes, their fears, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and I put it into the beginning of this 3-day Quit Kickstart. So let's get into it. So day one is understanding your nicotine addiction and setting up your quit plan. Why quitting is so hard. We're going to dig into the science behind the physical addiction, the mental barriers that you have to overcome when trying to quit something, and a mindset or 3 mindsets that will help you overcome these barriers. We're going to learn how to identify your triggers and cravings and what you can use to replace or supplement the use of nicotine to continue to promote natural dopamine releases. And by the end of day one, we will have your first Quit Nic plan built, which will help set you up for success in your journey to quit Nic. Day 2 is all about the first 24 hours and what you can expect to encounter from a cravings and withdrawal perspective. Module 1 will be what to expect during the first 72 hours after quitting nicotine. We will go over craving killers and what you can use to help overcome those cravings and make them subside. And last, we'll go over emergency plans for high-risk situations. What you can do or how you can prepare for when your friends ask you to go out to the bar or over to a barbecue or for a poker night where you normally turn to nicotine, what you can use to replace or substitute that cigarette or vape. And day 3 is about reinforcing your successes and preventing slip-ups. Adopting a new mindset shift that you are no longer a smoker, you are a non-smoker. How to handle slip-ups and avoid relapse. Slip-ups happen. Nobody is perfect. It's about not throwing away all of the successes that you've had up to this point and going back and starting over again. One mistake, one slip up does not account or deem you a failure. And the last thing we'll go over is replacing old habits with new rewards. This is the most important video of the course right now. Don't skip ahead. Watch the whole thing till the end. All of the information that is in this video is important. Day 1. Understanding your addiction and building your quit plan. Why quitting feels so hard? The science of nicotine addiction, dopamine, and habit loops, the biggest mental barriers that hold you back. The 3 key mindset shifts that can help make quitting easier. If quitting was simply about willpower, wouldn't you have quit already? But every time you try, something pulls you back in. The cravings, the stress, the alcohol, the habits, they all seem impossible to break. The truth is, quitting is hard. Not simply because of the nicotine addiction, but because of the habits that we have tied to the nicotine. It's a chemical cycle that rewires your brain. And today, we're going to break it down so that you finally understand the reasons why you haven't been able to quit to this point. Every time you smoke or vape, nicotine reaches your brain within seconds. When nicotine reaches your brain, it triggers a release of the chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical that allows you to feel pleasure, to relax, to feel a sense of relief. But here's the problem. Over time and continued use of nicotine, your brain becomes reliant on nicotine to release dopamine. It does not release dopamine easily through natural processes. And this creates the addiction cycle. You're no longer smoking or vaping for the buzz of it like you once got. Now you're just doing it to stay normal. Now let's talk about what I believe is the most important worksheet in this entire 3-day Quit Kickstart program. And that's the worksheet called My Habit Map. You can find this worksheet in our Facebook group, Quit The Nic. It's in the resources section. You can do this on your own, but basically what this worksheet does is it breaks down. It has by half-hour segment, and I start at 4, and it goes down to 3:30 on one side, and then 4 down to 3:30 on the other side. So it gives you time, event, who was with you, trigger, and emotion. And what this is supposed to do and why I like it in this worksheet is over the course of your days, you use this worksheet and you document each time that you use your cigarette or vape. And then you can see over the course of 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, however long you want to track your habits, then you can start to see a pattern. When is it that you are using your product? What time? What event? What feelings are you feeling when you want to reach for your nicotine delivery device? Now, I also have down at the bottom of the worksheet some suggestions for each of the sections to help maybe do a little brainstorming or get the creative juices flowing as you're going through and filling out your habit map. The real struggle isn't just physical, it's mental. So let's look at 3 of the biggest mental barriers that keep people stuck. Every failed attempt makes you feel like it's impossible to quit. But here's the truth. You didn't fail. Your method failed. So what we need to do is change our perspective or reframe failure or setbacks to lessons. Every lesson is a teaching moment. It teaches us what works and what doesn't work. So let's look at some reframes we can use when we encounter negative feedback in our attempts. Instead of, I caved under pressure, you reframe it as, now I know stress is a trigger for me and I can prepare for it in the future. I made it a few days, but then I relapsed. Hey, I made it 2 days with no nicotine. Now, let's see if I can make it 3. I'm too addicted to stop. Others have quit. I can do it too. Addiction is not permanent. I can break free. Quitting is too hard for me. Quitting is a challenge, but not an impossibility. I am stronger than I think. The reframing failure worksheet is provided in the Quit The Nic Facebook group, and it has a list of limiting beliefs on it, and you can go through and add your own excuses or limiting beliefs, and then your affirmation on what you're going to say or your reframe of what you're going to think when you encounter or when you have negative thoughts of your own. Nicotine helps me with stress. Nicotine does not have true calming properties like deep breathing, meditation, or relaxation. Nicotine works by temporarily providing relief to withdrawal symptoms, which the nicotine caused in the first place. So here's what happens. When you take a puff off of your nicotine delivery device, it triggers dopamine release in your brain. This dopamine creates a short burst of relaxation and pleasure. You may feel a momentary sense of calmness, but it's not because the nicotine is providing the stress relief. It's actually you just satisfying your nicotine withdrawal. It's actually just you satisfying that craving or relieving the stress of withdrawal from the last time that you used your nicotine delivery device. It's kind of like punching yourself in the arm and then rubbing it and then saying the rubbing helps, but you're the one that caused the pain in the first place. So in order to combat the withdrawal symptoms that you're going to experience as you go on your Quit the Nic journey, there are ways that you can naturally help your brain release dopamine on its own. Introducing these activities or items into your daily life will help promote your body's natural release of dopamine. Exposure to sunlight, exercise, number one. Cold therapy, either cold plunge or splashing water on your face. Eating dark chocolate, eggs, bananas, dairy products, all promote dopamine releases. Dancing, listening to upbeat music, meditation and relaxation, deep breathing exercises. Laughter, having a meaningful conversation with somebody you like. Gratitude journaling, or just spending some time outside in nature. So go through your My Habit map and pick out specific times or triggers that you notice on a regular basis and choose a couple of different options that you can use to substitute your previous habit. So for example, if you drank coffee and used your nicotine delivery device, instead, when you drink coffee, take a walk. If you use your device while driving, use a stress ball, something else in your hand, a straw, a sucker, something that will help you with that hand to mouth or fidgety thing that you need in your hand. If you go through and pinpoint your triggers and times and formulate replacements for those times, your chance of success in quitting the Nic increases exponentially. I'm giving up something I love. If you see quitting as losing something, then you'll always feel deprived. But the reality is for every pack of cigarettes that you don't smoke, you add 6 more hours to your life. That's 90 full days in a year. Over the course of a decade, that's almost 2.5 years of added life back to your clock. So ask yourself, what do I gain from quitting smoking cigarettes? By quitting nicotine, you add years onto your life. You put money back into your pocket. Your heart starts repairing itself within 20 minutes of you quitting smoking. Within 24 hours, your chances of heart attack, your breathing gets better. After 48 hours of not using the product, your lungs start to regenerate and clean the mucus and gunk out of your lungs. You start to gain better focus and mental clarity. Your sense of smell and taste begins to improve. So I challenge you to write down your top 3 reasons why you want to quit, why you want to quit, not why somebody's telling you to quit, but what is going to be your reason why. If you have ever tried to quit and failed, it's not because you're weak. It's because you used the wrong mindset to quit. Most people approach quitting with a sense of loss, like they're losing something that they loved. But what if you could reframe quitting into a way that could make it easier, not harder? Well, we're going to go over 3 mindset shifts that can help you on your journey to quitting the Nic. If you believe that quitting is giving up something that you love, you're always going to feel deprived. The truth is, you're not losing anything. You are gaining your freedom back from an addiction that you've had for years. I am not giving anything up. I'm taking back my life. Refer back to that reframe worksheet. Usually it's about perspective, and when you can change your perspective, you can change your outcome. You are not a smoker trying to quit. You are a non-smoker. Your identity shapes your actions. So if you identify as a smoker, you're always going to be drawn back to being a smoker. Typically, people identify themselves and their personalities with things that they do. I'm a smoker. I'm a drinker. I'm a cyclist. I'm a runner. I'm a weightlifter. Things that they like to do, they say, I am. So you are no longer a smoker. You are a non-smoker now. And when you begin to tell yourself, I am a non-smoker, your subconscious hears that, triggers that, and starts to internalize that for yourself. Most people fear cravings because they associate cravings with suffering. But cravings are not sufferings. They're your brain's way of saying and healing itself. Every craving you resist, every time that you would have smoked or vaped, that you are not smoking or vaping now, is getting you one step closer to your final goal of quitting the Nic. And the more you can resist, the weaker the grip nicotine has on you in your life. So every time that craving hits, reframe in your mind, this is not suffering, this is my brain and my body telling me I'm healing, I'm going through the process. I just need to go one step more, 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week longer, and I'll be Nic free. These mindset shifts are the foundation of you quitting for good. When you stop seeing quitting as suffering and instead see it as freedom, as independence, as healing, everything changes. So let's take the next step. In the next video, we're going to identify your smoking triggers, because once you know what's pulling you back in, you can finally break free.